talk all this week has been the World Economic Forum in Davos, and we go back now to see what has been happening there.
Most of the sessions are fully subscribed. If you're not there in 30 minutes, you can't find a place. So I think that is one of the good things that indicates that a number of us, leaders in corporates, political leaders, and generally the executives, are here to discuss issues that are quite key on the agenda of the globe. Now, coming to Africa, one of the important things about Africa is that the key things are being put on the agenda, one of which is the development of Africa, infrastructure delivery, and increasing the economic activity on the African continent. That, I think, augurs well for the African continent.
Yesterday, we had South Africa's President Jacob Zuma questioning whether Africa was more risky than other regions in the world. A warranted issue to be raised?
No, it is indeed, because you see a number of people, when they view Africa, they see it as a very, very risky place. And hence, you find that capital becomes quite expensive, and the returns are quite good. One of the most important things is for all the corporates, everyone to begin to understand the details of the African continent, not to have a generic approach to it. You can't compare one country to the other. You can't say Mali is equals to the DRC, for instance. It's important to develop specific understanding of the risk nature and the risk exposure of different individual countries on the African continent.
We've recently seen the credit downgrade of South Africa raise quite a stir amongst foreign investors, and the Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan yesterday saying that agencies are getting us wrong. The country has its finances under control. What's your assessment of our standing on the back of that most recent credit downgrade?
I think I'll have to agree with the Minister of Finance, Pravin Gordhan. Because the issues around which were raised by the rating agencies, one of which is about the soundness of our political situation. And I think when you look at the history of South Africa, the institutions are fairly in place. Our democracy is fairly in place. We do have challenges, yes, but it's important to understand that all the institutions that are a bedrock of a sound political and economic country are really in place. That's one. The second thing, they raise issues around the fiscal balances. It's important to understand that South Africa has a history of effective management of its own budget. And there are no traces anywhere that we are about to see a running deficit. And I think that's the second thing that I believe is one of the things that have not been fully understood by the rating agency. The third element is social upheavals. In any democracy, you will have a number of civil society organizations protesting and raising their issues. That does not equate to social instability. In any democracy, I think it's important for us to contextualize this, and I think Minister Pravin Gordhan is quite correct.
As a developmental financier, the role that the DBSA is playing in helping to ensure economic stability, where does that role fit in right now?
Right now, I think our role is quite important. The key thing is we still have significant infrastructure backlogs, both in South Africa and on the continent. And our role as the DBSA is to mobilize the resources for the speedy delivery of infrastructure, be it economic infrastructure that talks to roads, that talks to dams, or social infrastructure that talks to hospitals and schools. And I think that is our role, and we fit in quite perfectly in ensuring that we create that strong basis for the growth, sustainable growth of the South African economy.
To a large extent, we've seen the bank repositioning itself as a bank for infrastructure development in South Africa. Last year, you were considering forming a new subsidiary to house an international division to look at ways, for partners to facilitate greater trade and investment. What kind of progress are we seeing on that front?
We are fairly advanced in that. We have already. It's beyond the issues of a concept. What we are doing now, we are discussing with strategic partners. The key thing is that it's important for us as South Africa to create an environment where we can mobilize vast resources to invest in Africa's infrastructure delivery programs. Mm-hmm. And quite clearly, a number of people have indicated that the backlog in as far as infrastructure on the African continent is concerned runs into hundreds of billions of rands. And as a country and as a development financial institutions on our own, we realize that there is no way we could be able to manage that. And hence our idea of developing capacity that will crowd in other strategic partners from other countries, the BRICS countries, and all other people who are involved currently in the development of the African continent.
One would assume that it goes beyond just access to more capital and funding resources.
Absolutely.
It's about managing a risk profile more effectively as well.
It's about that, but the most important thing is also about project development. A number of countries have concepts, but we need to have a facility that moves the concept into bankable projects. That is one of the key things that is a gap currently between our ability to deliver infrastructure and our ability to mobilize the necessary resources. That to me is quite an important thing, and this is what we are working on.